And boom, new year, new me. Not me. Not me. Before we get the ball rolling, before we get this video truly started, I just want to say real quick, thank you for all the love and support on my last video. I honestly did not expect it to do so well. I thought it would do a little better than the Halloween video. It honestly caught me off guard, but I'll finish giving all my thanks towards the end of the video. So since people seem to really enjoy the content in the last video, I thought, why not turn it into a series? I already have a couple ideas that will fit my style of content. Plus, it's fun to talk about those classic shows and episodes. Sometimes you can be harsh on certain ones. Also, it's dope discovering things I haven't watched before. So we gotta start off with those forgettably bad episodes. Originally, I was gonna do something different with this video, but I think I came up with a better idea for that video in the near future. Now, we've all had those moments when we start rewatching a show. Then at a certain point, like, oh, I remember this episode. Then it truly hits you. Oh my god, it's this godforsaken episode. I'm sure you probably could think of a few episodes that you would say are bad. Yeah. Whether it's because a new character was introduced, the episode created some kind of plot hole, there was an odd special guest appearance, maybe a certain character did something really out of character, or maybe the episode is just really that boring and unenjoyable. Whatever the reason, I want to find out why these episodes were rated so poorly. Were they really that bad? Or were people being overly harsh? Now, I didn't just pick shows that are low rated that just have a bunch of terribly reviewed episodes. No. These are shows that people say are good and beloved, maybe even certified classics. I will say, I don't have as many episodes as I would like to talk about, since what I considered as bad was whatever the lowest rated episode of the entire series was, which is anything rated below a 6. In my opinion, anything below that is dirt, dog water, basura. So of course I'm gonna say what the episode is about, with a little bit of my input here and there. Then once I'm done going through everything, I'm gonna give my full thoughts on the episodes and quickly rank them. But it's gonna be a little different, since episodes have some negativity attached to them. So it should be interesting to see the rankings. Also, I did throw in 2 shows I haven't seen before, because after a certain point, I was scraping at the bottom of the barrel. It should be fine though. Last thing, let me know in the comments which episodes sound bad to you, just based off the summaries. Oh, that's another shine. Let's get into it. First up is the Simpsons worst rated episode with a 3.9 rating, titled Lisa Goes Gaga. Now, based on the title alone, you can kind of guess what the episode will be about. So Lady Gaga is passing through all different cities and states in this train. What the fuck am I looking at? I don't know, whatever. As they're about to pass through Springfield, the conductor tells Gaga that the town has the lowest self-esteem of any place on the planet. She thinks that's so sad, so she decides to make a stop there to try to cheer them up. Meanwhile, at Springfield Elementary, they're having the Student Choice Awards. Of course, Bart wins School of Clown. Then to Lisa's surprise, she wins least popular student. She's crushed by this. Milhouse tries to cheer her up by showing her the message board from their school. They see someone named Truth Teller has been posting positive things about her. The next day, everyone seems to have changed their tune about Lisa, but it's short-lived when Bart exposes her being Truth Teller. Oh, brother. She thinks it's all over. Lady Gaga finally gets to Springfield. She can somehow sense the distress in Lisa, so she spends the majority of the episode trying to help Lisa. But Lisa snaps. She denounces her and her BS positivity. Then Homer tries to give Lisa advice. While she wasn't listening to him at all, she realizes how ungrateful she's been and goes to apologize to Lady Gaga. She thanks her for letting her take 8 years of rage and rejection out on her. She can finally say the good things about herself. The episode has to end with some kind of BS. They end it with some singing. Next episode, please. SpongeBob's worst rated episode is going to be the lowest rated with a 3.2 rating. Holy. The main reason for that is because of the second half of the episode, titled A Pal for Gary. SpongeBob's feeling guilty for always having to leave Gary all alone while he goes to work. But honestly, Gary could give 2 fucks. So while SpongeBob's on his way home, contemplating what he should do for Gary, he comes across a lady giving away rare and extremely dangerous pets. He doesn't pay any attention at all to her warning about how unstable the creatures are, especially around other pets. Somehow he doesn't catch on to the signs Gary's trying to give him about Puffy Fluffy. Instead, he scolds Gary for his behavior towards a new friend, because every time they're alone, he tries to attack Gary. But when SpongeBob is around, he switches up real quick and acts all innocent. Then he gets to the point where during the middle of the night, Puffy Fluffy turns into this big monstrous looking creature.
I like you, and I want you. And he wants you. Now we can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way. The choice is yours. What you want, Tom? What's it gonna be?
It attacks Gary, so Gary has to try his hardest to survive the night, since somehow SpongeBob doesn't wake up at all during the chaos. And when he finally does, he gets angry and blames Gary for everything. What? Yo, next episode. The X-Men's worst rated episode with a 5.5 rating, titled Doobie's Fairy Tale Theater. I can summarize this one pretty quickly, since nothing happens at all in the episode. You have Doobie, who's upset at the fact that she has to be a tour guide for a bunch of students, since Professor X, Wolverine, and Gambit have to go meet with the president. So she decides to take the students to go explore the cave. While they are doing so, a part of the cave collapses, and the path they came from is now blocked. So she has to use her
SATCOM 2000 digital beeper?
to call for help. While they're waiting to be rescued, Jubilee comes up with the idea to tell the students a story to calm their nerves. The story she tells is set in the medieval era, and she's the main protagonist of it. It features Magneto as a villain, Gambit and Wolverine as her sidekick, but he's a troll that kind of looks like Blanca, just without the orange hair. After she defeats the villain in the story, they finally get saved. Before the students leave, they want her to finish telling her foo-foo ass story. They want to find out what happens to the main protagonist, and that's it. Next. Dexter's last worst rated episode with a 5.9 rating. There's 3 different parts to the episode. The first half, titled Scrying Game, there's actually things happening in it, unlike the other 2 parts. Basically, Dee Dee's pretending to be a fortune teller, so she tells Dexter his future. Obviously, he doesn't believe the nonsense coming out her mouth, so he leaves before she can tell him the last thing she sees. He notices an unplugged lamp. As he goes to plug it in, he gets shocked. He looks in the mirror and sees his hair is fried. He wonders if Dee Dee's predictions could be coming true. He then sees an evil-looking snowman. He thinks this just has to be a coincidence. As he goes about his day, each of Dee Dee's predictions come true one after another, so he goes back to her for her help, but it turns out it was all a prank. The second half of the episode, titled Monstrosity D, is about Dee Dee eating Dexter's failed giant apple. So every few minutes, she'll turn into a monster, and she returns to normal. Every time Dexter runs into it, he asks for Dee Dee's help. He somehow doesn't realize she's the monster. The third half of the episode, titled Dad Man man walking. It's just about Dexter's dad somehow sleepwalking into his laboratory, and Dexter trying to keep his lab from getting messed up and his dad safe. Next, I don't want to spend too much time on this next one. I'm going to make it quick. Martin's worst rated episode with a 5.4 rating, titled Cole on Ice. Basically, Cole gets fired from his job for being on Martin's show since he was supposed to be sick with Ebola.
I mean, what the hell is going on?
Gina, Pim, and Tommy try to help him out by paying him to do some handyman work for them, but he fails miserably. So Martin hires him to be his assistant, which he does an absolutely horrific fucking job. Since he's friends with Martin, he has like a big shot. He tells the other crew members of the show what to do, and he makes my guy Charles Barkley cancel his appearance on the show. Because of this, Martin's ready to fire him, but before he does, Cole was somehow able to make a deal with Charles for him to come back. Next, por favor. Hey Arnold's worst rated episode with a 5.9 rating. I remember this episode, I just didn't know the hate it got. It seems it all stems from the first half of the episode, titled Arnold Betrays Iggy. While Arnold's bringing his classmate Iggy's homework to his house, he finds him wearing bunny pajamas. Arnold laughs in disbelief. Iggy presses Arnold to not tell anyone about this, since he has this image of being cool. Arnold promises not to say anything.
So that was a fucking lie.
Yeah, he slips up when Sid and Stinky ask him why he's laughing about going to Iggy's house. He tries to avoid the question, but they keep pestering him, and they guess the reason for his laughter. So of course they have to tell the whole school about it. Iggy looks like he's about ready to beat the fuck out of Arnold. He's angered by his betrayal. Iggy becomes the laughingstock of the school. Hey, you know it's a problem when you get clowned by someone like this. Arnold pleads with Iggy to forgive him, that it wasn't his fault, but he doesn't want to hear it. Seasons go by and he still hasn't forgiven him. Finally, Arnold asks him what he has to do. An eye for an eye. He just has to wear the same bunny outfit so he can know the humiliation he felt. A whole group of people pull up for the show. Iggy overhears Sid and Stinky's conversation about how this is kind of all their fault. Iggy realizes how much of a fool he's been, but it's too late, and now Arnold won't forgive him. Next, the Powerpuff Girls worst rated episode with a 5.2 rating. It's a pretty simple episode, and from what I gather, most of the dislikes come from the first half of the episode, titled Sunscreen. While the girls are at the beach, a sunflare goes off. The girls go to put a stop to it, but before they do, the professor tells them to put on some sunscreen. They act cocky, saying they don't need it, it's for nerds. Well, it backfires, and they get roasted physically and mentally. Then we see they have a hard time walking and trying to fight crime. The professor saves the day by introducing them to aloe vera. Their skin instantly begins to crack and peel. Once they're back to normal, they punish the bad guys by leaving them on a deserted island. The second half of the episode, titled The City of Frownsville, is about this lame villain who's always crying. He created this machine that makes people sad so that he can win the award for being the happiest person in town. The only way for everyone to be able to turn to their normal selves is by making one person laugh to set off a chain reaction, and they only have 5 minutes to do it before the city floods. The girls tell a joke, it doesn't work. Bubbles tells a joke about a banana. She peels it to emphasize the joke, again, doesn't work. She drops the peel next to the villain and he slips on it. The panicked people begin to laugh at him. The day is saved thanks to Bubbles, and the villain is punished by using his tears for a water ride. Next show, the Fairly OddParents worst rated episode with a 5.2 rating. I know there are way more badly rated episodes in this one, but this is before the show became utter garbage. The first half of the episode, titled Timmy's 2D House of Horror, is about Timmy destroying Vicky's house since he didn't want to stop the lava from destroying it. Timmy's parents insist on her family moving in with them. Because of this, Timmy ends up having to sleep in a doghouse. Timmy wishes for Vicky's house to be fixed, but Timmy's dad demolishes it since he's having so much fun with his new friends. Then Timmy wishes that the 3D glasses Vicky's family are wearing will become real and scary. The only way they could take them off is when they leave his house for good. At first it fails, since Vicky's parents are afraid of her. Hey yo, what the hell is going on? They finally leave when Vicky sees money flying away. The second half of the episode, titled It's a Wishful Life. Timmy wishes he was never born since all the nice gestures he did for his friends and family went unappreciated. He soon ends up regretting this when he sees his parents have a better life without him. Jorgen tries to take him away. Timmy asks him to let him try to find someone whose life isn't better without him. But it's pointless since everyone's lives are somehow better off without him. He doesn't use the opportunity he had to change everything back to normal since he didn't want to ruin everyone's happiness. But it was a test, and he's granted one wish. Obviously, he returns everything back to normal. Next, iCarly's worst rated episode with a 4.8 rating. I don't even have to say too much about this one because once I say a certain character's name, you'll know why it's got a lot of hate. Basically, during the episode of iCarly, Carly and Sam play a video for their viewers. He's the hottest thing on Instant at the time. He's so funny, very hilarious, so quirky. The one, the only, Fred. Yes, that's Fred.
Should we kiss?
No.
Yeah, so Freddy doesn't think Fred's videos are all that funny. This causes Fred to post a video saying he's done making videos, and it's all Freddy's fault. Because of that, Freddy, Carly, and Sam get verbally attacked. Freddy gets most of the brunt of it. He also gets physically attacked. After days of trying to get into contact with Fred, he finally responds back to Carly. He tells them to meet at his house at some bumblefuck place in Idaho. They go there and Freddy apologizes for what he said. Fred wants to hear him say that his videos are funny, but he refuses. Then Sam whips his ass with a tennis racket and forces Freddy to apologize. Fred tells him it's all good. He was never mad because this is all publicity stunt to bring in more views and traffic for iCarly and Fred. Then they make a Fred video together and play it on iCarly. Next, Foster's worst rated episode with a 5.5 rating. Most of the hate comes from the second half of the episode, titled Everyone Else is Bendy. This should be a quick summary. Essentially, a family can't handle the son's imaginary friend Bendy, since he's supposedly a troublemaker. So they hand him over to the Foster house. Mr. Harriman and Frankie believe the son is to blame, but the parents aren't buying it. Nonetheless, they take Bendy off their hands. We soon find out who the real troublemaker is when Alfred Bendy goes to where Blue's group is, and for no reason he just breaks a vase in front of them. Mr. Harriman and Frankie come into the room to see what the noise was. Blue, Will, Eduardo, and Coco tell him it was Bendy, but he pleads innocence and starts weeping crocodile tears. Even when it's 4 against 1, they somehow take Bendy's side, so they get put in timeout. The majority of the episode is just Bendy getting away with mischievous acts. Finally, Blue has had enough being framed, so he comes up with an elaborate plan to catch Bendy in the act of doing something bad, which he does, but at the cost of flooding the Foster house, so he still gets in trouble. Next, last but not least, the X-Files worst rated episode with a 5.9 rating. screaming. Settle Teso dos Betros. Since this show has a longer episode runtime than the others, I have to try my best to keep it short. Basically, an archaeological team that's being led by
Fight man.
discover an ancient burial urn out in Ecuador. Dr. Belak tries to tell Dr. Roosevelt that the people there said is cursed by some kind of jaguar spirit. You know he doesn't listen, so of course they gotta wrap that bitch up and send it back to America, to the Boston Museum. After this, people start getting attacked and disappearing left and right. As they investigate this case, Mulder and Scully go to Dr. Belak's home to ask him some questions to see what he knows and if he could be the one behind all the attacks. Mulder doesn't think he's the one though. As they continue to investigate, Mona, one of the employees at the museum, tells Scully she doesn't feel safe there. It feels like she's being watched. So Mulder heads over there. Is it a jaguar, rats, cats, or did Dr. Belak off the hoot all the droga? No, say probably, I don't know. Anyways, Mona disappears by the time Mulder shows up, and somehow Dr. Belak ends up at the museum. Then while they're looking for Mona, Dr. Belak disappears. Mulder notices that he may have been dragged away through a vent that leads underneath the museum. So Mulder and Scully head down there. While they're searching for him, they discover the people that have all disappeared with their eyeballs gouged out. We find out who was behind it all. It was a bunch of cats. Yeah. After this, the country of Ecuador steps in to take the vase back to its resting place. That took a little longer than I expected, but it is what it is. Also, I thought about having a snippet of the theme song of the shows, like how I did in the Christmas video, but I think I'll only do that for the holiday videos. Plus, when I first uploaded that video, it immediately got copyright claim for the Powerpuff Girls and iCarly's theme songs. I don't want to deal with that. You know, I didn't realize half these episodes I haven't seen, and there's the other half I have watched. I will say my raw thoughts on what I watched before I actually process and think about them. I definitely could say there's two that I hated. They low-key irked me. I think you can say with confidence which ones were ass. So I think it's time to get into these rankings. So get some food or a snack, a drink, and get comfy if you haven't already. SpongeBob's worst rated episode. The thing that made people want to spit in the writer's face was SpongeBob being such a complete oblivious dumbass and neglecting Gary's safety. We've seen this storyline happen in other shows, but the difference is that in other shows, the main character will realize at some point how blind they've been and understand the severity of the situation and apologize for not seeing the signs earlier. That doesn't happen at all in this episode. All the blame and stress is put on Gary for no reason. I know SpongeBob is a big goofball, he isn't the brightest person, but goddamn, this is borderline pet abuse. Someone call Peter. Not even the first half of the episode could help lessen the hate of this episode, since it was pretty boring seeing Squidward having to do community service and him constantly getting tickets. I don't know how the cop was always there to be on his ass. Also, it doesn't help that the episode overall wasn't funny. There's only one thing I could say that made me giggle, and that's his Aki ass shit, mom. You ever see this? Just
Where the ambulance? Why the men bodies?
I think the episode needs to be deleted. So the thing that grinded most people's gears about hate Arnold's episode was Arnold breaking his promise with Iggy, which when you really think about it, it's not that big of a deal since it was an accident, but I kind of get it since Iggy doesn't have the full context of the situation. I had 3 problems with this episode. 1, Arnold does try his damnedest to convince and prove that he is sorry, even though it wasn't entirely his fault, but Iggy just brushes him off and takes advantage of his kindness. 2, towards the end when Arnold had to wear the bunny outfit, it made no sense for him to be more upset than even Iggy was before. Again, I kind of get it though. And 3, I didn't mention the second half of the episode, which is just about Helga trying to get her new nanny fired, which I thought was pretty annoying and dumb, since our whole family benefited more from having a nanny. But don't matter, Helga had to frame her for stealing something she didn't take. Shaking my damn head. Overall, the episode just a bunch of pettiness going on. Also, why did all these random people in a news station show just for somebody wearing bunny pajamas? Like, you better rock that hole and hit some Vogue poses. I think the episode, yeah, it's bad. iCarly's worst rated episode. I mean, come on, this is another one that's obvious. That's why this episode is very hated. Honestly, this might be a hot take. The episode's not that bad. Thankfully, Fred barely appears in the beginning, and when he's fully introduced, it's when there's like 5 minutes left of the episode. Most of the episode is just Carly's group dealing with the hate over Fred, and Spencer with his magic meatball, which was goofy and entertaining. He buys an ostrich named Marvin. He's out here drinking a bottle of ketchup, which reminded me that I used to eat the little ketchup packets when I was a kid. It was pretty tasty. And don't lie like you haven't done that before. Anyways, I only really had one problem with this episode, and that was just towards the end of it when Fred goes on iCarly and they play the video they made together. That portion was god awful. That needs to be deleted. I will say, if you ever plan on going back to rewatch this show and you get to this episode, just cut it off when they're about to leave to go apologize to Fred. The Simpsons worst rated episode, it's ass, it's bad. Come on, it's pretty self-explanatory. Right off the bat, I was cringing when it was leading up to the introduction of Lady Gaga. I hate how they treat her like a goddess. I did not like how she was trying to push this weird positive agenda and telling Lisa what she needs to do. Speaking of Lisa, I don't know if this is out of character for her because I haven't watched all 34 seasons and it's been so long since I watched this show, but she was a brooding little dickhead. Wah. I'm so sad. No one likes me. Leave me alone. Dark. Then at the end, oh my god, the singing. Listen, I'm not ashamed if you like to sing, regardless if you can or not. Do your thing. 21. But I think that was a cherry on top for me to put it as bad. Also, why does Lady Gaga have this spidey sense where she could sense someone is down and depressed? Whatever. Foster's worst rated episode. The reason the second half of the episode is so disliked is obviously because of Bendy and how he wasn't punished or got some type of karma for what he did, which is a valid point. I can see where people are coming from with that criticism. Honestly, I can only think of 2 minor problems I had with this episode. 1, the first half of the episode, which I didn't mention, it was just about Wilt being too nice and not knowing how to say no, so he keeps doing all these favors that everyone's asking him to do. After a certain point, it got really redundant and over exaggerated. 2, I think it was kind of a dumb choice of the writers to not include some kind of reason as to why Bendy does the things he does. Other than that, I don't think the episode is bad. The first half is a little boring and it slightly drags. The second second half, Benny really isn't that bad. He's just a deviant and low-key a W finesser. I enjoyed it. It's actually good. The Fairly OddParents worst rated episode, from what I've seen, the hate comes from the second half of the episode, which I get why, since if you go back and watch it now as an adult, you realize that Timmy is basically told to go off himself, which is wild as hell. How is everyone's life better without me never resisting? Like, is my birth that much of a stain on human history? Does it really affect the timeline? But we were dumb snot-nosed kids watching this, so you probably didn't pick up on the dark message. Or were they trying to go for dark humor? Who knows? For me, the biggest problem I had with this episode was the first half of it. It was annoying how Timmy's parents treated him, and Vicky's parents felt no type of remorse for him. It's like he didn't exist to them. Also, why were Vicky's parents so scared of her? If y'all don't tag team her and be some goddamn sense into her. Overall, I think the episode, yeah, it's bad. Dexter's last worst rated episode, I couldn't find the reason as to why it wasn't well received. But I think it's because overall the episode was just really goddamn boring. Especially the second and third half of the episode. Plus, the gags were tedious and repetitive, and there wasn't really a plot to them. They also kind of had a similar theme. I'm not gonna lie, I think I fell asleep trying to watch the end of it. The first half of the episode wasn't bad. There was actually something happening. It kept me slightly entertained. It was okay. Does it help make the episode better? Hell no. I think it's bad.
What you doing out here with all this ass?
It's a classic.
That's not what we're doing. It's not an option. Hey, I don't give a fuck.
As I was saying, yeah, delete it. It was a slog getting through it. The X-Files worst rated episode. This is one of the shows I haven't watched before, so my opinion could be a little biased. But there's a few complaints people had with this episode. They didn't like how the threat went from a spirit of a jaguar to a bunch of stray cats. The plot was confusing and convoluted. It was cheesy. This episode was the chose 2 of the X-Files. If you know, you know. Now I know I can't compare this episode to some of the other ones of this show, but I don't think it's that bad. It's good bad. It's pretty goofy. Honestly, I don't have any complaints about this episode. Just one minor nitpick, and that's the acting of the person who played Dr. Black.
Who told you that? The depth of their culture. If you think I did this, then you're a fool.
I said get out!
I told you. I came here because the Amaro would not be appeased.
It was pretty laughable how hard he was trying to play a badass character who's seen some shit. Was the episode cheesy? Sure. Was the threat turned out to be cat stupid? Yeah. And was the guest acting bad? Absolutely. But that's what made the episode so entertaining and enjoyable. It has a certain charm to it. If someone told me to go watch this episode, I would have thanked them, since it interests me to want to go watch the show. So for that, it's actually good. The X-Men's worst rated episode. This is the second show I haven't watched before. It's fairly obvious as to why people did not like this episode. Like, if someone told me to go watch this episode, I would have told them, what kind of dick are you smoking? 1, it's the 6th episode in the final season. 2, even though I didn't grow up watching the show, I still know the damn X-Men. Who the f is Jubilee? We don't know you, little sis. I expected to see the X-Men. Honestly, I don't know who that is. 3, it was just a boring episode. If you're gonna do an episode like this, at least make the fantasy world you're making up interesting and come up with new characters. I know it has a short runtime, but they definitely could have done something better with this. Unfortunately, yeah, it's bad. The Powerpuff Girls worst rated episode. People didn't like how both of the villains of the episode were punished. They didn't like how the girls acted in the first half, and for some reason they're grossed out by their skin peeling. I don't have any problems with the first half of the episode. It's just a tad boring. The second half, I have one problem and a minor nitpick. 1, I don't like the villain. He looks lame, he acts lame, he's annoying. His motive for what he did was really stupid. 2, it's kind of weird how they changed up the villain. Like, couldn't they just have gotten someone to keep an eye on him? I don't know. Overall though, the episode's not that bad. And finally, Martin's worst rated episode. I couldn't find the reason for it, but I didn't need to, because this episode was just straight ass. Oh my god, I need my damn 24 minutes back that I wasted on this episode. I didn't know it could get this bad. I hated every minute of it. I don't remember Cole being such a gaslighter and a nuisance. Throughout the whole episode, he just tries to make his friends feel bad for his mistakes. There's no repercussions for his stupidity. He acted like he knew what was best for Martin, and he didn't learn anything. Like, how do you almost potentially ruin your best friend's career? Something he's been working hard to get started, and you don't feel anything? The worst part is, I don't even think there was an apology. If you somehow have a friend like this, cut them off from your life ASAP. This needs to be deleted. Real quick before I move on, I have 2 honorable mentions. The first one is Ed and Eddie. For some reason, the 2 half of the episodes were rated separately, which honestly needs to be done more. But I couldn't figure out why the photo day episode was rated so poorly. I had no problems with it when I was younger, and I still don't. It was enjoyable and funny, especially this part.
Stupid bat homewrecker! Thank you, Johnny the Wood Boy. Rolf could not find the strength to open the door.
And the second one I want to mention is both Dexter's final episode. Now, we all mostly remember how awful the original Dexter's final episode was. But the reason I'm talking about this is because it's crazy how 8 years later you come back with Dexter New Blood, and it somehow has an even more atrocious final episode. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's so bad that I didn't even remember it until I started working on this video, which is so sad and kind of hard to believe. Yet, it's forgettably bad. Well, it wasn't that many, but that's all the episodes I had to talk about. I honestly thought there would have been more. Truly unfortunate. I did not think this video would be this long. I expected it to be a short 8 to 9 minutes. I might try to do some kind of part 2 to this in the future. I don't know, we'll see. Now, before I completely wrap up this video, I want to finish giving my thanks. Sorry if it gets cheesy. Thank you to all the people who watched the video, especially if you watched the entire thing. Thanks to the people who left the comment. Thanks for the feedback, the recommendations. Thanks to the people who liked the video. Thank you to the people who subscribed. And even if you didn't, hopefully I left an impression enough for you to keep an eye on me. And thank you overall. I hope I could build a community here. But what I really hope is that when you're looking for a video to watch while you eat, I become that go-to person. I know that struggle, but I'm chatting. Let me know in the comments, did I miss anything? Do you personally have an episode you think is bad or is not that bad? And let me know your thoughts on the video. I greatly appreciate any kind of feedback. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, share with the fam, the homies, or whoever. Other than that, I'm out. Peace.